I'm excited.
I'm excited. And I had thought of asking you to do this from a while ago, but I just didn't know how busy your schedule was. And but then I was like, oh, maybe he is up for it because I saw that you were a guest on someone else's podcast.
Yeah, one of my friends, Joshua, he's doing like a little, it's called Rhythm and Roads. He already has like a few interviews, so I just was all like, oh, well, it would be an honor to come on. So,
For anybody listening, this is Jorge. You like Jorge, right? Or do you go? Because I know I asked you this before, but is it George or
yeah,
Jorge
either way's
best?
fine. I go by George mainly.
George and I actually met in a really uncommon way. Because we both have a YouTube channel and we both produce content locally and we kind of like cross each other's paths that way.
Just seeing like your guys' journey as well on the channel too. I'm like a frequent YouTube watcher and all of that. So before like I had started my channel and everything, I remember I was just trying to learn little things about El Paso, and a bunch of your videos came on as well. So it was really cool to see that.
But I would like for you to maybe tell our listeners a little bit, or our viewers, if you're watching this on YouTube, our viewers as well, a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello everybody. My name is George St. Patrick. I'm born and raised from El Paso, Texas. I'm from the Northeast area. Both of my parents were from Ciudad Juarez. I believe my dad probably came over when he was a little younger. And my mom, she did all of her schooling there. She went through elementary, middle school, high school. They ended up coming here to El Paso. The way they met, my mom, she got enrolled into Job Corps, and my dad, he was going to Job Corps at the time too. So one of the places that they would always tell me they would meet up was San Jacinto Plazas. Family is really important to me. I have two older sisters, an older brother, and they have a bunch of kids. So before I was, like 10 years old, I was already an uncle. So I basically, grew up with my siblings' kids and everything like that. So it kind of helped me, I guess, learn patience in a way and how to be more mature. Because even at a young age, I felt like I had to set an example for the younger ones that were looking up to me. So I've always just, tried to be a really passionate person with anything that I do, and really kind as well. I believe, you should just be good to everybody, because there's times in this, we all know how this world could be dark sometimes and messed up and everything. So I just try to do my part to at least spread some positivity. And for the longest time, I was really trying to, just like how every young person is trying to find themselves, trying to find something that they're passionate, that they really want to, put all their effort into. And for the longest time, I always knew that I had a love and passion for film and videography. And throughout the journey in the beginning, I had let, my lack of equipment, lack of experience kind of stop me from doing the YouTube channel and everything. But I remember last year I had a really, unfortunately, I had like a really bad injury where I had broke my jaw. And for a couple of months, I was wired shut and I couldn't really talk. And during that whole process, it was kind of really difficult, because I was learning how to eat through a straw. And there was just a lot of concerns going on through my head if I was able to even speak right again. Once I started healing up and everything, and once I started seeing, a bunch of the love that was being directed towards me, especially since that injury, made me realize that I should just go after it, if, at least try it. So if I was going to fail, I was going to fail doing something that I love to do. So that's basically how the whole journey started with YouTube and how I've got here. And I believe my first year anniversary is coming up in a couple of days. So it's really exciting to see where the journey has taken me, and the amazing people that I've met. I think that's the most important part.
And you just hit a huge accomplishment. You just hit your first 1,000 followers, which for anybody listening or watching right now, it is so hard to do. And so when because Ren and I follow your channel, and we kind of came across it before we even had any interactions or talked or anything. We've kind of been following it since then, right? And so obviously now we like to support as much as we can too. And we were like watching you growing, and every few days, the closer you got to 1,000, it was like, did you see George? He's growing. And oh yeah, I saw he's getting closer. And it was really, really cool. Right when you hit it, to kind of be there to watch it happen for you. So, congratulations because you did it. And I'm sure like it's going to keep going from here.
Thank you. And especially on YouTube, I feel like it's a little bit more different than like Instagram and the TikTok reels and everything because it looks like most of the entertainment and everything, the platforms are kind of shifting into like the 30-second short content videos. With YouTube, it's kind of different because with YouTube, it still allows us to, tell longer stories. So one of the biggest concerns that I had was that I'm entering into this game kind of doing the opposite. Everybody is, jumping onto the reels and to the TikToks and to the shorts and all of that. And I was kind of trying to do it the more traditional way, learning how to put a whole video together and tell a story and learning the production and everything. So I'm sure you know how it feels too once you're first putting yourself out there, how uncomfortable it could feel at first, especially like you put a video out there and it's the world's now, and the whole world anybody could access that video and anybody could leave their 2 cents in, their advice or their criticism. That was one of the biggest, I felt, obstacles that I was facing in the beginning, because a lot of people were telling me that I was doing what everybody has already been doing, especially with the content here in El Paso. And I always had that in the back of my head of how I could try to be different from everybody else. But as far as that, YouTube's platform and everything, I'm really grateful for it, because throughout the videos and everything, I felt like how I was doing it. Like I said, when I first started it, I had no experience or anything. So I just started telling myself, you know what, I'm going to put these videos out little by little, and then I'm going to watch them back and learn and, trial and error. That's how I felt like I was doing. I do genuinely believe that my audience saw that they saw the passion, and they were all like, okay, this guy, he's not there yet, but we could see that he loves it and that he wants to do it. So they were, every time, at the end of the video when I was saying, please subscribe to the channel and everything, like, it was really meaningful when people were actually subscribing and supporting, and when I was finally getting comments, and I was like, dang, like it was really like a satisfying and fulfilling moment when you spend a whole time filming, a whole day and editing as well, and that can be frustrating, but like little moments like that was like really rewarding for me to see people actually watch the whole video through, and then they bring up little details, and I'm all like, oh, they did watch it. So reaching, like you said, 1,000 subscribers is kind of hard, especially on YouTube. Congratulations to both of us. The way I see both of our channels growing is just beautiful, honestly. And for us to be there for each other in the beginning, like that's just great, because we know
It
how
is.
the struggle is and everything.
I'm kind of curious when you said earlier, you put your stuff out there and the world owns it. And the world, I do believe that the majority of people are good. I do believe that the majority of people are kind and genuinely want to see others succeed. But sometimes the other smaller side of those who want to just give you so much crap and so much negativity, even though they're small in numbers, and it doesn't compare to all the good, that the people may shower you with, like positive feedback or encouragement or all these other good things. Sometimes that very small number of people, their voices can be louder in your head. Do you deal with that a lot, with negative comments or negative feedback, and maybe people not believing in you, because it could also be that? And if you do, how has that been? Like, how was it in the beginning versus how you handle it maybe now?
Yeah, so I do deal with that sometimes, not as much as the beginning. So it just depends on the video. Like, for example, one of my videos was the Chicos Tacos video, where I went into all the different locations that we have here in the city, and I ranked them and everything, and I gave my opinion on which one was the best and everything. That one was the one that got probably the most negative comments. People saying like, oh, how Chicos Tacos is kind of like a love-hate thing. So
Yeah.
people are, saying that it's horrible and everything like that. With those little comments and everything, I brush them off. In the beginning, I remember I had one man. He literally went on every single one of my videos, and he was saying how I was so unoriginal, how I was already doing videos that had already been done. I'm already covering topics that have already been done. He was saying that there's 4 or 5 other YouTubers that he could name that are doing the stuff better than me, stuff like that. And that was the first time that I had ever like encountered someone like that who was basically trolling. If he took the time out to go to every single one of my videos, like of course that was at the time I was like barely growing, so that was really I took that to heart. I'm not gonna lie, I really did take
Yeah.
that to heart. And I remember I was with my friend, and we were, out to eat or something, and I had told him like, "Oh yeah, this guy left a comment on one of my videos," and then that's when I discovered that he left multiple comments on my different other videos, and then I remember I got heated, and then I was all trying to look him up on Facebook and all of this stuff to like just to be all like, how did you know? How does like? And then I'm venting to my friend like, he doesn't know how it is to be out here in these locations and people watching you while you're talking to a camera. Like, I was, voicing those frustrations, but then my friend would always just be telling me like, hey man, like he's pushing you out into the algorithm. Like any feedback is good feedback in a way, so if he's taking the time out to go and watch every single one of your videos and comment all of that, then and he's all like, and he would tell me too like, George, you're not copying everybody, and he's all like, there's going to be topics that are going to be covered, the same topics are going to be covered hundreds of times throughout this, throughout the years and everything, but how are you going to make it your own? How are you going to put your own little spin on it and everything? So then that's when I was really started thinking like, you know what, he is right. Like, of course, like there's 100 videos already of Chico's Tacos. That's why I was like, how could I put my own spin on it? So I visited every single location. So that's always some of the things that I always have in that I keep in mind when I'm choosing like a topic of the video that I'm gonna do next. I search up videos to see if there's already been topics and everything. I try to learn from them and everything, because at the end of the day, I feel like no matter no matter who's telling the story, as long as the story's being told. And that's what we try to do with EP Originals, is just tell El Paso stories and some of its humble beginnings and stuff that is only original to the El Paso area, the Ciudad Juarez area. And yeah, in the beginning it was really hard, but now I just feel like I have more of a stronger support system and audience and everything like that outweighs any of that negativity. So
That was actually going to be my next, like question. How do you come up with content? What's your process like? And I mean, you basically covered it. And I just want to add, like, you said something, I completely agree with it. Nobody is the same as the next person. It doesn't matter that one specific place or one specific topic has already been covered. Nobody is going to ever do it the way that you can do it. People in the end are attracted to what you as a person are bringing to them. People are going to have different content that they prefer, and it can all be the same, but they just, you're going to have your own people who are going to love you for who you are. And really, that's kind of like what people need to hang on to if this is something that they want to pursue. Like,
yes, exactly. And then with the videos, I just really, like how you said, I just try to be myself and show my audience that I'm really genuine, that really do love my city. The adventures that I go on and everything, they're first time experience for the most part for me. So one of the things that always any content creator has to like keep reminding themselves, like, why you're doing it in the first place, and that's because you love the game, you love the grind, you love putting in the hours, watching the videos over and over again, and making sure they're exactly how you want them. And even when you finally do upload them and you watch them back, you're all like, oh, I should have done this instead, or I should, it's always just gonna
yeah.
be the love of the game. And then for me, like, especially like the journey has been kind of fun and difficult at the same time, because when I started, like I said, I had no experience in like videography or editing or sound or like anything that had to make like really do with technology wise. When I started doing the YouTube channel and learning, I also started learning the other part of it, like the in front of the camera. I had to be able to learn my lines and be able to speak properly in front of the camera, and literally learn how to read again the right way and cut out the slang in my language, and also the other part, like the psychological part of like, how am I going to be able to grab this viewer's attention? How am I going to do all this? Like, it's been a whole journey, me trying to just learn everything, and then also the history part. Like when I started the channel, I just wanted to show some of the best things that made El Paso original. But then the more I started getting into it and the more I started learning and appreciating my city and the history and everything, I was like, started noticing that I was becoming a little historian as well. And that
Yeah.
was something that I never really thought that I loved history and I loved hearing about these stories about the past and then these great figures that we had and some of this, and especially when I got older, how some of the learning about those same stories, but how some of those facts weren't really portrayed to me because I was younger and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
just learning about history in general was just really fascinating to me. And then I've been noticing that I am kind of following the footsteps of some of the historians here in El Paso, and I've been fortunate to meet some of them to tell them thank you for teaching me my city's history because growing up I remember I was in love with California. I wanted to go to LA. I wanted to see the Lakers play, and I was really big on Tupac and Dr. Dre and all of them, and then New York. I wanted to go see the Yankees play and everything and learning about their history that I never necessarily took the time. And I was like, wait, let me learn about my roots, like the people that I have more in common. Like I love Kobe Bryant. I love that man and he inspired me and everything, but I don't necessarily have much in common with him that I do with some of the people that here. Like for example, one story that I learned about was a young teenager. Her name was Carmelita Torres. And this was back at the time where El Paso was dealing with disinfecting sprays. They were like disinfecting Mexican nationals that were coming over to the United States to work and
Yeah.
everything. The mayor thought at the time that they had, lice. They were bringing in lice and all these different diseases. So one of the requirements they needed to do to come over to work here was to be sprayed with God knows what kind of chemicals they were being used to and stripped
Mm-hmm.
down and being humiliated, like dehumanized. There was a story that I learned about one girl, Carmelita. She was about 17 years old. She said, you know what? I'm not going to partake in this anymore. So she started, a protest where they tried to do some changes. Unfortunately, many changes didn't happen after she protested. People don't remember what happened to her or she disappeared. They don't have any
Yeah,
records of her, but
I don't think they ever found her, right? She kind of just vanished.
yes, and when I hear stories like that, or when I hear, I was recently in the Segundo Barrio, and I was hearing a story of a priest named Father Ram, how he would ride around the barrio, and he would talk to some of the kids that were, in gangs or anything like that, and he would try to persuade them, like, no, that's not the life that you want to live. Come to the church and read the word and everything. So I always felt like, I started realizing that I have more in common with people like that were actually here in my city and trying to do good in the community, even though if it was a small part that they did do good here in our community. Really have been feeling a lot of sense of pride lately, learning about El Paso's history and this little stories.
For those of you listening or watching us right now, you do kind of like scatter a lot of that in your content, which is look at these things that happened here, right? Or let's highlight these people that maybe nobody ever heard about. And it does give you a sense of pride with your channel, talking about your process, talking about your journey, the learning curves. There are a lot of people who want to do this, who want to put out content, who are, I believe everybody has creativity within themselves, right? Everybody. It's just a matter of kind of like polishing it and letting it come out. Some people want to do this, but the biggest thing that stops them from doing something like this is because they have this idea that they have to be perfect, that they have to put out the perfect video with the perfect music, with the perfect topic, with the perfect set of words and the perfect set of clothes. What would you say to someone like that? Because it's easy for us to say, you're never going to be perfect. Like, you just got to do it. Like, the right answer is you just have to do it. And you're going to suck, and you're going to suck big time. Like, you just got to be okay with that. You're going to suck big time, but you're going to get better. That's all true, but that's like the easiest way to say it to someone. What do you say to someone who comes to you and says, George, I want to do what you're doing, but dude, like, I'm not ready.
One of my friends that I was working with, he's like a younger kid. He works with me at Target and everything, and I've known him. I've, kind of like expressed some of my stuff that I wanted to do, like some of my ideas, like, cause he kind of knew that he kind of had the idea that I wanted to like make movies and I was into film and everything. So fast forward probably like 2 years later, he finally sees me doing the YouTube channel and everything like that. And I remember because he was like supporting me since the beginning. So I remember I was almost like around 500 subscribers, and he was telling me like, "Oh, dang! Like I'm really seeing your growth, and I'm excited. This and that." He's like, "I'm super proud of you. Like, how do you do it?" And I was telling him like, "Man, I just go out there and I just put myself out there, man." And I one thing that I told him, I was all like, there is so many people that are way more talented than me, like way more talented, that have way more resources and everything like that. But the difference that I try to portray within myself is that I'm willing to go out there and put the work. One of the things that kind of had always helped me have like that mentality was like Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was a big inspiration for me, like perfecting his craft and everything like that. Like he knew that he had so much that he had to do, so he was willing to go into the gym and work and put in more work than other people weren't willing to give him that little edge. And that's what I try to like explain to people, like you're gonna have to make some sacrifices, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
do some stuff and put yourself out there in ways that you've never done before. Like you're gonna put yourself out there, you're gonna record the video and everything. Once you put it out there, the first time you watch it, you're gonna feel yourself cringe because you're gonna be like, oh dang, like I'm finally showing a side that I don't necessarily show to every single person that I know. You know what I'm saying? Like there's one, like with my friends, I'm the more, laid back. I use a little bit more slang and everything. But in my videos, I'm a little bit more professional. There's going to be some sacrifices that you're going to have to make, and there's going to just be that sense that you're going to have to push yourself. You're going to have to grow in a way. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to get out of your shell. Especially like when I tell the young kids, like the young kids, they see, the celebrity life, they see the glamour life and everything like that. They want that quick. I try to tell them like, hey, it's not so easy to obtain. Like you really do have to put work and everything. Like those people that you see, like the Eminems and the Dr. Dre's and all these Lady Gagas, Taylor Swift and all of that, they put in the work. They were willing to put in the sacrifice and everything like that. One of the things that I have noticed with my YouTube journey is that I necessarily don't see my friends as much as I wish that I could. Maybe because we're growing up and our lives are going different paths and everything like that. But I finally felt like I found a passion that I was willing to put all my time into it. Started trying to schedule out my time. Like, oh, if I'm gonna have to work and do my obligations and everything like that, let me make sure I do them first before I go and actually spend time doing what I love to do. That's one of the biggest advice that I give to anybody, is that you're going to have to make sacrifices doing this, and you're going to have to put yourself out there and not listen to what of course you're going to have to listen to, because we're all human, we're going to listen to what people say, we're going to listen to how people view us and see us and everything. One of the biggest problems too that I had was I always found myself comparing myself to other established El Paso creators that were inspiring me, that were on Instagram getting more of the views. Fit Fam El Paso and everything. I remember I had made a short video about Chico's Tacos, and I had asked them if they could share it on their page, and they didn't. And I took that, at that time, I took that personally, because I was all like, well, then why are you portraying that you're helping
Supporting.
local and exactly, you know what I'm saying? If it didn't benefit you, that video didn't benefit them. They weren't going to gain anything out of posting my video, So I understand, you know what I'm saying? I think the beauty with with YouTube is that like with Instagram, we could post a video on there, and then within like a couple of like weeks or whatever, it could be buried within like the different feeds or other people's like content as well. With YouTube, I feel like, especially like with the topic, it's always going to be there. Like with our videos, if anybody 10 years from now, if they search up El Paso, like our videos are always going to pop up. And I feel like that's the biggest thing too. I remember seeing a video about a guy. I was watching videos on YouTube of advice of how to be a content creator and everything. And another man had said that one of the beauties about YouTube is that your audience is going to see you grow. Your latest video isn't going to be the same as your first video. To anybody out there, really just especially with the videos, like I always try to portray that message, like do what you love to do. Go out there, and I'm doing what I love to do. I remember one of the videos, the Sugarloaf hike, when I went all the way up to this one steep mountain, and I was dying throughout the video and tired, but then I went onto the top and I was like, look, this is satisfying. This is what I wanted to do, was conquer
Yeah.
this, mountain, and I'm up here. So anybody watching that wants to do it, don't listen to your heart, honestly, and make sacrifices that you felt like you were never capable of doing. But when you finally do them, you're like, oh, I was capable this whole.
And then I think just like it's very important to just keep yourself very grounded to the idea that, just like you're saying, this isn't going to happen overnight. You can put your heart and soul and time and energy and creativity and resources to one 10-minute video, right? Like you're out there. That's another thing. You could be out there all day and you end up with like 8 to 10 minutes of footage, right? That you're comfortable using. Just because you put so much of your time and energy into it does not mean that it's going to blow up. You have to be okay with the fact that you're sacrificing, like you said, time with loved ones. Just sometimes relaxing, because like there are days, George, that we are exhausted through the week because, we still have kids. Obviously we have to make sure that we're like, doing things with them, that they're out and about. We separate our family a lot from what we're doing. But so now it's like, okay, we have to spend time with the family. Now we have to do these things that the kids needs, doctor's appointments, other things that we're working on. And you're exhausted, and there are days when you're just like, I just want to do nothing. But we have to put another video, right? And we already have an idea. So like, let's start working on it. So it's a lot of time and effort, a lot of really forcing yourself to do it because sometimes you don't want to do it. But then also understanding that there is this slow, organic growth to it, and that consistency is ultimately what's going to pay off. Being grounded in that you're going to have to work for a while, right? Because like you were mentioning these big artists right now, and kids are seeing, when the kids see that and they aspire to be that, they're looking at the rewards that these people are now reaping after years of constant work, of constant rejection too. It really sucks. And I'm sorry to hear that you put yourself out there and reached out to someone that you felt could potentially give you a bit of a push, right? Just reaching out to someone who's already established, or a brand that's already established, or something of that nature takes a lot of courage. It's vulnerability of saying, hey, you don't know me and I have nothing to give you, right? Like, you're not going to gain anything from this, but can you please support me? That takes a lot of courage. And so it is very sad. The fact that they don't even reply to me is like, stab me in the heart, right? But for anybody listening wanting to do this, you're going to face that. You're going to face people thinking what you're doing is dumb, it's worthless, it's not worth your time, and therefore they're not going to go out of their way to support you. And you're going to have to be okay with that.
I think one of the biggest things too that I had a problem with in the beginning when I was making these videos and everything, and then I was, asking my friends or my family for support, they were telling me like, oh, it's great, this and that and this. And I always felt like, are they kind of, just telling me that because that's what I want to hear, or are my videos actually good? And there was a point of the time where I did felt like, oh, they're just telling me that because they don't want to hurt my feelings. I do know that at this part the audio sucked, or I had the angle a little bit too bad, so next time I'm gonna pick it up here. No matter what, I just want people to like stick to your gut, to always just remember that you're doing it because you love the game. Like a long process that you're going to have to learn how to play. Don't be afraid to lose in life in general. I try to tell my friends and people, like, don't give up. If you want to do whatever you're passionate about, honestly, because especially in this world where tomorrow is not guaranteed, and it can be a cruel world too. So one of the best feelings that I have is when I hear stories about people that I've inspired. That one young man that I work with at Target, he's getting into his fitness journey, and he's becoming a personal trainer now, and that's something that
Oh,
he's passionate to do. So telling me like, oh, you're helping me like not feel so corny when I tell people like, oh, don't give up, or hey, have a great day, or don't, you know what I'm saying? Like being positive. Like before he said that he felt corny doing that, and now it's like, no, he really actually means it. He has confidence saying those words because he truly means it. And he was telling me that he started his own fitness page as well, and he's starting to do his videos and everything like that. And I was telling him, man, you know, you're gonna I was giving him little tips and everything, like, oh, you know, if you want to do like, you could do a video where you're doing like a curl or something, and you stop and you're all like, oh, who invented curls? And then you know, kind of like your own little spin of it, like, oh, curls were invented, they came around in the early 1800s, like something like that, you know, like to
something to
put your
make
own
them
little.
like stick out. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was telling him like I see a bunch of people, like a bunch of you know, these word like these fitness influencers, like they're doing the same thing. They're just working out in front of a video and then flexing and everything like that. Like I've never seen anybody stop mid workout and say, "Oh, you know, these were invented back then," or "This is who we have to blame,
Yeah,
this man." You know,
like
like
fun fact.
hearing stories like that like really motivates me to then for me to keep going, to me to keep on my craft. I'm doing this all because it's like personal, for the love of it, but I always try to keep, you know, little deadlines on myself, like, oh no, I need to put a video a week out. Like if 2 weeks go by, oh, I'm already felt like I'm forgotten, you know, so I have to like keep myself on, you know, little toes like that, because you always do want to challenge yourself. You want to see what your strengths
Yes.
are, what your weaknesses are, how far you could go, how more you can get out of your little comfort zone.
100%. And you know what? I think if anything, I mean, yeah, like you're gonna face challenges, you're gonna face rejection, you gotta sacrifice time, and like all those things are huge, right? But I really think that a lot of people want to work for themselves because at the end of the day, Ren and I want this to be something where we have freedom of time. But a lot of people want that. But you know what? They don't hold themselves accountable. And I speak from personal experience. Like this is a journey that I've been on for many, like for decades, George, okay? Of like before even Ren jumped on. Like I had this view, I had this idea. I knew social media was the way. I knew something even before YouTube was a thing. I just knew something was there for me to do. I just didn't know how, right? And like for the past decade or so, I've been, like I said, that's why I never think it's like a failure. It's more like you're just falling forward, right? Because maybe like all these little things that didn't work out have taught me enough to move to something else that then propels me to something else. And right, everybody wants that. Everybody wants to work for themselves. Everybody wants freedom of time, of being able to do what you want with your time when you want, to being your own boss. But they are not accountable like with themselves. That's literally the hardest thing when it comes to doing something for yourself, because it is comfortable to say, oh, today's so great though, I'd rather spend it binging on whatever Netflix show that I wanted to watch for months, right? Or I'm going to go hang out and have lunch with my friend today. And I'm not saying, guys, please, I'm not saying to not prioritize your loved ones. That is not what I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
But you sometimes do have to put that on the back burner for a little bit. And hopefully you have a good supportive system that understands you communicating, hey, I love you. Can you just give me a little bit of time, right? Because it's important to communicate and have that. But it's really hard to do that. So right now you saying, oh, I challenge myself. We really are our biggest obstacles. It's us. Anybody else, the negativity, the criticism, the lack of support, yes, they're very hard. But if you believe in yourself and you're disciplined with what you're doing and you're actually doing the work, not just saying it, you're actually doing it, that is probably the biggest hurdle to get over ourselves.
Yes, and like the saying goes, like we're always our biggest like critic. We're always gonna
Yeah.
know like what our weaknesses are, or insecurities are, and everything. Watching the videos, watching back. Oh, someone's gonna see my teeth. Someone's gonna see my chapped lips, stuff like that. I just feel
Yeah.
like that.
My
Yeah,
uneven skin tone.
but I think that's what like really like pulls our viewers to us. Like they see that we're genuine. Like they could
Yeah.
I really honestly feel like when people watch our videos they could relate to us. They could actually, if they were see us in person or anything like that, they could be comfortable in us to talk to us and express how they feel towards our about our content. Of course, always holding yourself responsible in any regards throughout your whole life, with your profession, with your personal relationships, your family, stuff like that. You always have to remember, like, you're gonna make mistakes as well. So be able to own up to them and learn to move forward.
And I would say be coachable and learn to take feedback. Now, it can get kind of tricky, right? Because there is feedback that comes with a hint of like hate. So it's not really feedback, it's more criticism, negative criticism. But there are people out there, like, listen, I have a particular friend that she's super supportive and watches all our videos. And I work with her in other ways too, but she knows this is something we're pursuing. So she subscribed and she watches them and she genuinely takes the time to watch them. Like she'll tell me, I haven't caught up with your videos, but I've been busy. And like when I watch them, I want to sit down and watch them, right? Which I appreciate. And she is someone that I can 100% count on giving me extremely honest feedback, knowing that the best she wants is for us to do better. So there were times, like for instance, you and I and Ren, we did a video together. Everything about that day was unplanned. Well, it was planned. Like us meeting was planned. But then last minute things happened that kind of threw me off. It was dusty and my allergies and whatever, right? In that video, she literally messaged me and said, I really like what you guys did. I don't know if it was just me, but there was a part where your audio was in and out and I couldn't really hear you. And I don't know if that was done on purpose. I don't know if it was me. And I was like, no, you're right. My mic went out. I don't know what happened, right? And she does this consistently through every video. And I know it because she's so genuine about it. She never comes at me like, oh, your freaking audio sucked. Like you can do better. No, it's like, oh man, I really enjoyed it. I think it could have been better if the audio had matched, right? Type of thing. And so I can count on her to give me that. Now, that is also very humbling when you're already putting yourself out there. I'm in front of a camera. I don't have training in this. You kind of have to roll with the punches like that day, unexpected things, right? And you just do the best you can. And you're already feeling like this is not at all what I had planned, but I'm going to put it out there. And then for someone to come and offer some type of feedback that you know is uncomfortable, but necessary, that's also really hard. But it's probably also key to making sure that there is that growth you were talking about, right? Because there's nothing more rewarding. And I know because you said it just now, but I know you mean it with your entire soul. When someone who's been a faithful subscriber or a faithful follower and sees your work notices the growth you've experienced it and then voices that. When they say, oh my gosh, your work, your videos, you're this, you're getting better. You know what I mean? But you can't get to that if you're not open to feedback and you're not open to knowing that there's always somebody better than you. Because that's like your baby, right? What you put out there's like your baby. So for anybody, even if they mean it in the most loving way, to come and say something, you appreciate it, but it's still really hard, right? Because you're like, you're pointing out flaws. You're pointing out the things that I'm already in the back of my head subconsciously like not okay with. And now I know for a fact that everybody else saw it. So that's it. It's self-accountability, hard work, but then also being okay with that vulnerability. if you want that growth, you need to be coachable, period.
Yes, exactly. Like for anybody, like learn to be able to take that back seat and remember, like you don't know it all. That's one of the things that I was always telling myself in the beginning. I don't know it all. So if anybody wants to comment on leave any feedback, like I was really open to it and I was going to literally take it. I was really going to take it and understand it and learn what they were saying. Cause I don't know. I was telling myself I'm a rookie coming into this. So I do know I'm going to make mistakes and everything like that. I remember I did have someone leave their feedback on my Fox Plaza video. Someone had left a stranger. I didn't know him or anything. He left a comment saying that he loved what I was doing. He loved the concept of the channel and everything. And he was like, here's just a few things that I would, start working on. And the way that, he voiced it and expressed his concerns and, gave me his advice and everything. Like just the way he said it wasn't like, oh, you did this and that wrong. No, he said like, yeah, you did everything great. You know what I'm saying? Just, kind of start working a little bit more over here. Next time, put the camera a little better. And I was like, everything he said, I did not take it to heart. I was like, oh, like he is right. So I took it into consideration. Because at the end of the day, like the videos, they're going to be perfect to me in a sense, like nothing's going to be wrong with my video because it's my video. Not everybody's going to see it the same way. So when we hear that feedback, shows us that we're on the right track because people are watching. So like, they're actually
invested.
Watching what we're doing. Yes, exactly. Like they're also invested, So then we're all like, okay, so I'm actually on the right page, like I'm on the right track. So let me start trying to, because at the end of the day, the videos are for us in a way, but they're for the audience as well too. We want to be able to give them the best content ever. When we're talking about El Paso, we want to be able to give them all of the facts, the right facts. So we're not really, offending anybody or anything like that. We really do want them to, the time that they're spending watching our videos, we want it to be at least a little worth it to them.
I'm sure you feel the same way, but I think now we're at the point where we have very loyal followers that have been with us from the very beginning. And George, when I tell you that Ren and I flip-flopped through trying to figure out how we were going to do this, oh, we're going to do this, we put out this, oh, never mind, next video, it's something else. And the fact that they've stuck it out with us, probably scratching their heads at time like, wait a minute, I thought we were doing this other thing. Okay, I guess they're on to this now, right? But that's part of the process. Like that's part of like just knowing, like I'm trying to find what feels good to us, what feels authentic and genuine to us, right? But we have very, very, very loyal. They've kind of become like friends. We appreciate every comment, every feedback. I try my very best to engage with everybody all the time. Like that's my jam. I am a people person. I will engage with you. I'm appreciative of everything. But then there's like that group of people that started with you in the beginning and have shown you nothing but love from the beginning, that they kind of hold that little bit of extra special part in this whole journey, right? Because they're patient and they're kind and they're supportive and they just kind of hype you up. We have that group of people that have been there through the beginning and they really feel like family. And so now one of the things that I use, and I'm 100% sure that this is probably where you're at too, because in the beginning I was very self-conscious of having a camera in my face and being in a public space and talking to a camera, knowing that in that moment I'm not talking to anybody, and probably knowing that people around me were like, what is she doing? And how my kids say, that's so cringe. Like they were feeling cringe for me, right? But now when I get behind a camera or I'm talking or in front of the camera, I think of specifically that group of people because we've become so comfortable with each other that it's like I'm talking directly to them. And so they don't know how much they've helped even me in my own growth of being more comfortable and less awkward and less, or even then being okay with being weird in front of the camera. Even that, right? Because it's like yourself, you're going to be weird. Oh, well, right? It doesn't matter. But that's kind of like something that I do now that I talk to the camera and I'm literally thinking of that group of people, and it helps to like ease my anxiety and ease my awkwardness a bit.
Oh yes, most definitely. I totally agree with you on that. I felt the same way, especially when you go out in public and you're talking and you hear people making little comments like, "Oh, it's a YouTuber" or whatever,
Ándale.
yeah, they're saying stuff like that. Yeah, it does feel, a little like you uncomfortable too. In the beginning, yeah, I was really uncomfortable. I remember I was watching videos of how to like strengthen my technique of when doing that. People would just tell me like, just look into the lens and pretend that you're talking to someone. In the beginning, it was hard because I was like, well, I'm not getting any views. Who am I talking to? So once we started like growing that fan base and everything, and once I started knowing like the same two people, were commenting on every single video and everything, I'm like, oh, so they're the ones that, I know for sure are
This
going to
is for
take the time
them.
to watch the. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Now when I'm talking in the camera and everything like that, oh, subscribe guys, thanks for coming on this journey and everything like that. It is, kind of directed towards them, to those people that I know that are going to be watching this video, that I know that are going to be appreciating every single word that I say. I can express how much like grateful I am for like those loyal people that stuck with us since the beginning, because
Yeah.
they just saw that we were passionate about it. Especially I feel like with YouTube, like people can like we can be like there for each other without necessarily being there. Some of my supporters, subscribers, they've commented like, "Oh, I used to live in El Paso when I was little, and then we got stationed somewhere else. But when I watch your videos, I'll tell my dad, oh, Dad, do you remember this place? Oh, yes, I do. We used to go here when you were a little girl. This and that." Like it's ways for them to connect with their past again. And I just
Mm-hmm.
love hearing those stories of when people are all like, I have so much love for it, it's always going to be home for me. Or one of the things that I learned too, like that was amazing to me, was people that never been to El Paso, but they've heard about it. They've heard about, the Wild West and Don Haskins and Rose's Cantina and the UTEP miners and stuff like that. Like they heard stuff like that, more of the American side of El Paso, the Texan
Mm-hmm.
side of El Paso. So then when they come and watch my videos, oh, now I'm seeing the other side of El Paso, because El Paso is always going, I feel like it's a mixture of the Hispanic culture and the Texan culture as well. That's one of the things too that I try to portray in my videos. Like, I am proud that I do have that Spanish Mexican heritage and everything like that. But I also am proud that I am a Texan as well. And El Paso is always going to be, aligned with the Texas history and everything like that, the good and the bad. But,
Yeah.
no matter what, it's something that shaped me, that gave me my pride, my sense of pride. So to see those people becoming like loyal, watchers and everything like that, it feels good to see that we're connecting to those people's lives.
One of the things that I have come to appreciate more about you the more I watch you, and just in that one small interaction we had in person and the few interactions we have here and there, whether via text or social media, just like watching you grow. I do have to say that one of the things that really comes through is your genuine sense of positivity. And like that's kind of that's a tricky thing to navigate, right? Positivity, because on the one end, obviously we know life is hard, life is heavy, bad things happen. So we don't want to ignore that, and we don't want to ignore life challenges, right? So I feel when people think positivity is like always happy, always smiling, well, no, that's not what I mean, right? But like that genuine sense that I see or I feel coming from you is, in spite of, I'm going to remain like moving forward, in spite of criticism, in spite of lack of support, in spite of whatever's happening in the world. Like I have this one focus, and I'm going to hold on to that and continue moving forward. And that's really hard to do, because it's very easy to say, oh yeah, I'm going to work so hard, I'm going to do, like we can all do that. Talk, and say it. It's very easy. But then to sustain that level of commitment, and sustain that level of not just commitment to the work, but commitment to staying positive enough that you pull yourself out of a funk if life gets hard. Life is going to happen no matter what. And it's not going to stay rainbows and butterflies for you all the time. So to be able to like sustain that and maintain that throughout, not a lot of people can do that. I don't know if you've seen this with other YouTube creators and content creators, but they have all said the only reason that we have made it and you haven't is because we persisted even when life got hard. That's it. We all have the ability, and it doesn't have to be YouTube. Like, this is just specifically talking to people who want to do this, right? It's okay if you need to take a little break to reset and, whatnot, because you have to take care of yourself too. But that is what's going to make the difference between you and somebody who is successful on a platform like that. Because it doesn't mean that they're better than you. It doesn't mean that you don't have what it takes. It just means that what I'm telling you right now, work ethic and desire to keep going in spite of your circumstances when they're really, really crappy, that is what can make you or break you. And that is something that I feel coming through because you do put everything in the content that you offer, and you have a genuine love for what you're doing. Right. And so that's something that Ren and I notice every single time. We kind of like admire that about you, right? Because it's not easy, especially like Ren and I have each other. We're going through this journey together. It's always easier to go through it with someone. But you started this all on your own, recording alone, figuring out how I'm going to, so you don't have anybody to brainstorm with to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, right? And tossing ideas back and forth. That's even harder, which is why we admire you even that much more, right? Because you can easily just say, I'm done today, right? I can't get this right. I don't know how to do this. Screw it. And you toss it to the side. But you persist.
For me, it's kind of like I do feel like I do my best work when I'm alone, when everything's all on me, when the ideas are coming through me and everything. When I put the video out, that's my vision. That's how I wanted it to be. But I'm also a team player. I also know how I could work well with others. I know where my strengths are, stuff like that. I know where I could, step forward or take a step back, stuff like that. For the longest, it was really difficult at first, but one of the things that I remember someone had told me this and it stuck with me for the last couple of years is that he told me, George, you can't control what's going to happen to you. You can't control what the world's going to bring to you, but you can control how you react to it. Like you can't control how all of that. And he would always tell me always stay true to yourself. And one of the things that was always me, like I've always been like a calm person. It always took me a lot to get me angry. So I always just try to stay that to myself and always just tell myself too, like, you know what, don't take any of that personal, and always just to stay positive. Being positive, I would have to owe it to my mom, to her. She would always tell me to just look on the bright side, to not listen to the other niños that were saying all this mean stuff to me and all of that. I've been through, things in my life where it just made me that helped me gain a better perspective to appreciate my life, to appreciate the little stuff. Sometimes, unfortunately, that's what it takes for most of us to have to go through like a traumatic event or something like that for us to finally open our eyes and see like, no, you know what, life is good. The only thing that we're controlled of in this world is our attitude, is our mind, is our perspective.
That's it.
So and once I realized that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let anybody poison that. I'm not going to let anybody try to take that away from me or anything like that. They could take anything in this world. But when it comes down to that, to my spirit, my heart, my attitude and all of that, I just try to tell myself, my parents, they've gone through a lot of stuff. They had to go through all of this stuff worse, or, many people before too. Like when I'm learning about El Paso's histories and everything, Carmelita, she had to go through all of this stuff just to go back to Juarez to pay, her rent. I try to just put myself in a better perspective and say, I don't have it as bad as those people.
Like you said something right now that's so true. It really is your attitude and your reaction to anything, because you said something about sometimes something awful or traumatic happens and it could go either way. There are people who go through something impactful in their life. They get to choose, okay, is this going to propel me forward? And not to deny the situation that happened, because we should never, like, obviously it's valid. But it's like, okay, that happened to me. This is how I feel. I had someone on the podcast recently who said she's learned through the years, right? Because when you're young, like, you're just kind of trying to exist and survive with all these emotions. But she's like, I'm at the point where I give myself 30 days. If I go through something difficult, and it could be anything like a breakup or an argument with a family member or something disappointing in my business or something, it could be anything. And I give myself 30 days and I feel how I feel about it. And if I want to cry and scream and be mad and bitter, for those 30 days, I'm allowed. But then it's like, okay, but I can't stay here anymore. So on day 31, I'm like, what is my reaction and my attitude about this moving forward? That in itself is to admire in someone, because some people choose not to move forward and they choose to stay in those feelings and that emotion and that sense of self-victimization, angry at the world, right? And again, like, some of the things that have happened to people, that anger is probably deserved for whomever, right? Like, that those feelings are valid, but you also, like, how do you use that to push you forward? And so even you having that core belief and navigating life with that in mind is admirable, right? Because it's also not easy to do. It's easier to say, look at what's happening to me, or look at what happened to me. How can I ever move forward from this? That's easy. Us staying in the same spot and saying, look how they wronged me, look how life is not going my way, that is easier. But to look at that and say, yes, and this is a crappy situation, and what they did to me was awful, I don't want to have anything to do with them anymore, but now how do I move forward from this? That's not easy to do.
No, thank you very much. And honestly, that really just means a lot to hear that coming from you. Sometimes, we just kind of need like that validation that we're on the right track, that we're doing good. Of course, it's always difficult. Everybody wakes up not feeling the same way. But I feel like we just have to find that little passion that we have and to keep us going. Many people, it's their kids, their careers, anything. That's what I just encourage people to find what's in it that you love, what you're willing to sacrifice for and stuff like that, because and to get the message across too, like whatever we want in our life, we're gonna have to work to get it as well.
Oh yeah. I have a couple more questions. What are your future goals, whether it's with the channel or anything?
Well, for the channel itself, I would just want to be able to reach more people and for more people to learn about El Paso, to see that we have a lot of good things here. The narrative right now may be bad, how they're painting El Paso with a bunch of the migrants. One of my main goals with the EP Originals channel would just to be able to spread more love with El Paso. The more that I'm learning about El Paso and appreciating it, I'm starting to see El Paso as a person. I don't know if it's a man or a woman yet, but I'm starting to see it as a person with all of these stories, all of these experiences that are just sitting there like, mijo, come, listen to them. I got all these stories to tell you. Really makes me feel proud of it. Being here from El Paso, I think that's one of the main things that I'm always going to portray with the channel as well. That's what I really wanted it to be. Every single video is going to be different. The topic might be different, but the setting, the stage is going to be El Paso, my hometown. I've always wanted to get into like film. I would eventually be able to like be part of a major motion picture film. I would love to be, if anything, a cameraman or, obviously I would love to be the director. I would love to be the man calling the shots and everything like that. But as far as just being in that world, I would, anything would be good for me, to be honest.
Like, let me carry the sound for you guys. Let me start here.
Yes. Like, for example, when they were shooting that movie downtown, Warner Brothers was here with Leonardo DiCaprio and Benicio.
I saw that. Yeah.
couldn't believe that they were shooting an actual, Hollywood film here in one of our streets in El Paso. Quick little story.
Uh-huh.
While they were filming downtown and everything, I had gone downtown. The day before, I spent a couple of hours on top of the Paso del Norte hotel because we had like the best view of them, practicing filming the scene and everything. So I watched them film like the same scene probably 7 or 8 times. They were filming it. And so the day I spent that day there, the next day, I believe it was a Sunday, I went down there again because I just wanted, to be around the filming and all of that. I was walking around the plaza, down the San Jacinto Plaza, and I was wearing my Eddie Guerrero shirt. And for the viewers that don't know, Eddie Guerrero is like a big, famous WWE wrestler from El Paso, Texas. He was able to travel the world and become a world champion and everything. He's, considerably El Paso's like most famous born resident, native from the city itself. I was wearing an Eddie Guerrero shirt, and some random woman just walked up to me and she said, "Oh, Eddie Guerrero, he's from here, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's one of our hometown heroes and everything like that." And she automatically cut me off and she said, "Wait, are you from El Paso?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm from El Paso, born and raised." And then she said, "Oh, have you heard about the movie that they're filming downtown?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm aware of it." So she then proceeded to tell me like, "Oh, she introduced me, she introduced herself, and then she said that she was one of the casting directors for the movie. And she was saying that they had a bunch of extras like drop out on her. So she said, "Oh, I'm literally out here on the streets seeing if any locals want to be extras in this movie." And I was,
You're
at
like,
first I
sign me
kind of,
up.
yeah, at first I was like, I'm not gonna lie, like I thought to myself, like, did this lady really stop me because I look Hispanic, But then I was just all like,
You're like, should I be offended or what?
or excited for this opportunity. So she was like, "Yeah, would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So then she took my picture and everything, and she was all like, "Yeah, if we consider you, we'll give you a call." And right there, I was all like, "Oh my gosh, like this is the opportunity that I was finally waiting for." Like I was telling myself, I was like, "I don't care if I'm just the regular like Mexican number 3 in the background, and I'm just there, like like I
No,
want to come out."
I will be the best Mexican number 3 ever.
Exactly. Like if I have to look tired and scared and everything, like I will, like I was like, I'll do it and everything. And I was even telling myself, I was like, all I need is the chances to be on the same set as Leonardo DiCaprio, and all I need is 5 minutes with him. "Hey Leo, how are you doing? How are you liking El Paso? Oh, you want to learn more about the city? Check out my YouTube channel." And that's boom, like that's what I was thinking, like,
Right.
the different possibilities. Unfortunately, they never called me back or anything. I believe they already started wrapping up the filming. So, I mean, it was cool to have that little story, that little interaction, and everything. But
That's
as far as
cool.
I mean, like the big term goal would to be directing films and everything like that. But I'm actually was considering reaching out to like one of the local news stations here in El Paso and start working with them. I would love to be maybe a reporter reporting for the northeast side of town, doing stories particularly just for the northeast. I love El Paso. I'm always going to be proud of the city itself, but I'm more, prone to the northeast side. That's where I'm from. That's my, my humble beginnings and everything like that. So yeah, that would be one of my major goals, is to eventually go to one of these news stations and see if I could be, an intern. One of the things too, I could use my YouTube channel as a portfolio. I could be like, "Oh, I have, these videos already under my belt. You watch from the beginning, you'll see my growth." So eventually that's something that I would love to do, is to be, representing El Paso, especially for kids, so they could look at me and be like, "Oh, that man, he looks just like me. I can do that." So
Oh man, well that's great. And I have no doubt that whatever it is that you pursue, that it's going to happen for you, because you just have that determination. And not just the determination, but you're actually doing the work, right? Because a lot of people are like motivated to do it, but then never follow through. And so you're following through, you're doing the work, you're learning, you're open to like feedback, hungry to learn more and do better and grow. And so eventually that can only equate to bigger and better, My very last question, because obviously, being someone who highlights the city, I have to ask you what your favorite food is here, or do you have a favorite food joint that you prefer?
One of my favorite places is Chico's Tacos. And I know for some of the locals, it's always love and hate. Some people hate it, some people love it.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people from out of town, when they want me to describe Chico's and everything, I say, hey man, it's, an El Paso thing. You're probably not going to like it. I feel like only people that are born and raised here in El Paso that like have the tolerance for it, to be honest. But that's one of my favorite places. Now I mainly go for like the nostalgia feeling, for the sentimental value. One of the reasons why I love Chico's Tacos was because it was one of the way me and my mom bonded when I was growing up. That was a tradition that we had every after middle school and high school. Every Friday, she would pick me up, and I knew we were going to Chico's, and that was just something that we always loved doing. Like I would sit with her. Me and my parents, my family, we didn't really have necessarily like the traditional household where I was eating at the dinner table with them every single day, and they were asking me how my day was and stuff like that. So there wasn't really much times where I was able to like communicate with my mom. Those were times where I was able to communicate with my mom and talk to her, being at the Chico's Tacos. I love going to Chico's Tacos, sitting in there. It's like one of the it gives me like those old school hamburger joint vibes and everything. You never go to Chico's and order takeout. You always eat it there.
Yeah.
It's always 50-50. I do. The food can be hit or miss sometimes, just depending on, what day you go and what time you go. Other places too. One of my favorite places growing up was the Burrito House here in the Northeast. My mom, she would always order like menudo, pozole, burritos from there. It's always just been a staple here in the Northeast. Whenever we did get to go and sit there and eat, it was always like a nice home feeling. You really did get a sense of like the Mexican culture there. Me growing up, I was more of on like the Mexican American side, so I was more Americanized. Grew up listening to hip hop. Basketball was my favorite sport and everything like that. So learning more about El Paso's history and everything like that, I'm starting to embrace the Mexican culture more, that I've always knew that was in me and everything, but I never fully understood or was never really
Didn't feel
taught to.
like you were a part of it, maybe in a way.
Yes. Oh, yes, exactly. Especially for how the one of the struggles Mexican Americans like kind of face is like, oh, I'm not accepted by the Juarez side, and I'm not accepted by the El Paso American Texan side. So it's like
Yeah.
kind of get like the best of both worlds, because we see both cultures in a way. We hold both cultures dear to our hearts, and with that being said, learning more about the culture and everything, I'm starting to eat more enchiladas and flautas and chile and stuff like that, and trying to, build my cuisine a little bit bigger and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as in the beginning with the channel, I wanted to do a lot of the mom and pop restaurant shops that are only found here in El Paso, but then I realized, oh, like these are costing me money, and I'm like kind of, like don't really have the funds to be doing every single video, a food video. I'm not getting paid for these videos as well. So I was like, you know what, let me start doing the stuff that's free, going to these historical places and everything like that.
Chico's Tacos too, like I get people saying even like, oh, it's not that great anymore, or they just didn't like it altogether, which is fine. Like, again, it's not for everyone, but I do think I think it, being from here or having been, because I wasn't born here, but I was raised here practically my whole life, it's just something that you learn to appreciate, because it's not so much about the food. It's more about, like you said, the nostalgia, like the memories there, right? Like Chico's Tacos on Alameda is the one that I would go to the most, because it was closest to Bowie High School. That's where I went to school. And so that was a lot of times the place that, first of all, we could afford when we were that young,
Yes.
right? And it was like open late. So like maybe after a meet or a game or something, just hanging out with your friends, you put your money together and everybody eats, right? Everybody gets a meal. So I think it really is more about the experience. And so you kind of forego the food, because it's like, I'm at Chico's, I'm having a great time.
Yes, especially like when my brother comes into town, he's in Seattle. So whenever he comes down to town, he goes to Chico's, but he doesn't eat the tacos. He doesn't eat he gets like a hamburger or the hot dogs there. But yeah, he usually just goes and tells me the stories. Like it's people, I've heard stories about people going after the clubs. Chico's was the only thing open so that they could
Yeah.
be able to sit inside and eat. So like little stories like that is what I feel like keeps the tradition alive.
Oh man, George. Well, this was really, really nice. I do look forward to collaborating, maybe doing something a bit like where we can get together beforehand, plan something out that's really well done for both of us because I enjoy you as a person, who you are as a person. It's a very mellow vibe that you give out, and that's just always nice to have around. So I look forward to that, but I do appreciate you gifting me your time for the podcast as well.
No, thank you very much. I really do appreciate you giving me this opportunity to come on to your podcast. One of the biggest messages with the channel that I want to that anyone that I meet in general is that I always tell them that it doesn't matter where your story ends because, God willingly, wherever He wants to take you, any horizons that you're going to be going on in your path. Doesn't matter where your story ends, but you should at least feel some sense of pride that it started here in El Paso, Texas.